Hi, my name is John Whitehead, and welcome to this week's video blog post. Before I start, I'd like to just remind you at the end of this blog, you'll see my contact information. And if you sign up for my weekly blog post notification, I'll send you a copy of my book, What Are These Things Called Soft Skills? So just continuing the conversation we've been having over the last few weeks about psychological safety, equity, diversity, inclusion, and justice, and this concept around quiet quitting and what we're hearing about quiet quitting. And people just making these decisions and I think most commentators will say it's because of the pandemic that people were sent home to work from home. And one of the things they recognized was, hey, I have a life. And so bringing them back into the work, many of them deciding they're not coming back, and that was the Great Resignation, right? But people who are coming back are deciding, well, I'll do my work in the 35 to 40 hours, but I'm not going to do any work beyond that. And refusing to answer emails if they've been sent after work. In fact, one of the organizations I'm connected with, if you send an email after office hours, a message pops up and says this message won't be sent till 9 o'clock the next morning, which I think is a great way to handle that. And so how are we treating our people? And that's what we talked about last time. How are we treating our people? We're treating them as cogs in a wheel or as valued partners. One of the other things to think about is, what about the resources that we do have? And I recognize the economy is always a challenge. We're worried about supply chains. There are lots of tensions. If you're on this, you're watching this, and you actually own a business, or you're responsible for the finances of a business, you know those pressures, those increased costs that are piling on. But what about that number one resource? What about that human resource? What about the resources for them? Are you withholding resources for those because you want to cut costs? Or where's your viewpoint on your people? Providing training, for example, providing opportunities for growth for your people, enticing them with opportunity for growth. Are you providing resources for them for their own growth? Something to think about. Are you looking at costs at a spreadsheet level and not that big picture? What is the cost of replacing somebody who leaves? Every organization should have that cost. What it actually costs to replace that person. We're talking about the advertising for the role, the interview process, whether you hire outside people or your own people, there's time. That takes time. Following up on references, again, takes time and resources. When you hire somebody, the onboarding costs. Do you have to take somebody else out of another role to train that person? So you're losing that productivity. The costs are horrendous. I worked for an organization once that I think they pegged the cost of hiring, recruiting, and training somebody around $20,000. That's a huge amount of money. So what is that for you? What is that for you? What's that cost for you? And so what are you looking at? Are you looking at a spreadsheet figure, or are you looking at what you can do to help keep people? Psychological safety says that you listen to people, you ask for their opinions, and then you just don't shunt them aside. You actually pay attention. It's not just asking for opinions, it's actually listening. And like I said in the last time, you may not be able to give them everything they want, but at least if they leave that interaction feeling that they've been heard and understood, you're ahead of the game. Think about that. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you again next week.